Rock and roll Chicago, rock and roll Chicago, my hometown. Well, I was born in the city, gonna rock your city, Chicago. Chicago rock and rollers are the best here around.
Hey, this is Paul Martin
and Ray the Roadie
for the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm doing swell. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. It's fun. We've got 50 episodes in the can. This is our 51st. It's fun getting these overall, the bigger pictures of all these bands.
Yeah, yes, it is. I mean, you learned a lot of new things you never knew about, and I'm telling you, we got tons of people. I mean, emails and text people. People I talked to said that that last episode 50 was crazy good. So I appreciate all the great compliments from everybody.
Well, speaking of the bigger picture, we have kind of a tie-in to last week's with Carl Giammarisi. We have Dave Zane, who's also the guitar player for the Buckinghams, and he's got his own band called the Bigger Picture Band.
And Zane's Way, which doesn't play much anymore, but
no,
they're still there. They could come out. They could just pop up like those 17-year locusts are coming out right now.
That's right.
They'll just come out of their shell, and there's Zane's Way.
That's right. At any minute now, they're ready to make some noise, just like the cicadas.
There's a shell of Dave on your tree in your yard, and so yeah, that was a good interview with Dave. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. Why don't we get to it?
Let's do so right now. Hey, today we're speaking with Dave Zane, the guitarist for the Buckinghams and Jay and the Americans, and his own bands, Zane's Way and Bigger Picture Band. How you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing out there?
We're doing good.
Outstanding.
So tell us. I hope I had 4 of them right. But I'm sure there's many more, aren't there? Many more bands.
At the moment, it is Buckingham's my number one. Jay and Americans. I play all the Midwest gigs with them, and occasionally I've been to Canada with them, and occasionally I do some other things with them other places. Zane's Way still playing occasionally. It's not that much. I don't know whether it's the oldies that genre or something, but I don't know. But it seems like my band, The Bigger Picture, is playing a little more. Of course, not lately. Nobody's playing. So
how you surviving the COVID-19 virus thing?
Yeah, money's one thing, but it's like a mental thing. It's what you do. It's like a fish out of water, or a bird not being able to fly. It's just something that's in you, and you're used to performing for people, and you can't do it. Until everything's okay. So,
right.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's nice to have time off now and then, but not like this.
Not like this. Only when you need it. But I never seem to experience any kind of burnout, even when we're going.
When's the last time you played?
The last show that I actually did was with the Buckinghams, and it was with America. Mm-hmm. At the Genesee Theater, and it was a scaled down Buckinghams thing. It was just 2 original guys, Carl and Nick, and myself, just doing acoustic.
Okay.
So that was a little different for us. We didn't know how it was going to go off, but it went great. America was really happy. They go, we ought to do this more often. So we'll see if that happens. Nice guys, those guys. And they brought us on stage for their encore. I think they do that. Usually they do that, but it was still surprising to me. I got pulled from the side stage by the bass player. He goes, "Come on." He goes, "We're going to do Horse with No Name." He goes, "No big deal, because there's only 2 chords in it." So,
you played guitar?
Huh?
You played guitar and sang in that song?
Hey, they passed me an acoustic guitar. It wasn't plugged in though, so it was all for the look, But it was fun. I got the video, and I put that on Facebook so people can see it.
Well,
It's neat.
I know you're on Facebook quite a bit. You've been doing some songs periodically too. I see there.
Yeah. Some of the fans kind of been prodding me, and I started the first one, and I got like 4,000 views. So I figured somebody's out there looking at them, so I'll do another one, And
Yeah, very nice.
the last one I did is close to 4,000 again. I got a fan base out there.
Tell us when it all got started back in the day. How old were you when you started playing guitar?
Oh, gosh.
Did you start out playing guitar?
Actually, I remember watching the Beatles, and I was, just crazy about them, and like everybody else was. I mean, most people. There's some people that like the Stones better, but anyways. So that was 64. I think 65, my dad played a couple chords on his guitar, and he could never tell when to change the chords and stuff, and he just didn't have that, and only knew 3 chords. Taught him to me. He goes, just come over here. He goes, try this. I tried 3 chords. At the end of the week, I showed him 5 or 6 more that I've found out myself. I mean, there was no internet to find that stuff out. Didn't have any books or anything. I just figured them out with my ear, and then I showed him. I don't know how much, maybe a half a year after messing around and playing that way myself, my mom told my dad, why don't we have him take guitar lessons? She had him pawn her engagement ring to buy my first guitar.
Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't a very good guitar. It was like a Stella or something like that. It ended up warping, a little time later. But yeah, so that's how I started taking lessons. And I think within the first year, my teacher told my dad, he said, he's passed students that I've had for 3 years already,
Yeah.
So had something there. And I took lessons for like 2 years, I think, which really rounded me. And my teacher would not teach any rock and roll. He told me, if you want to learn rock and roll, you got to go somewhere else, because I just don't do that. He pretty much played standards. He was really, really good. He played standards and jazz. He just told me, he says, if you want to, play rock and roll or learn rock and roll, you have to go somewhere else. And I really liked him and stuff, and he was a great teacher. And it was a good thing I did that, because it totally rounded me out instead of just playing what I wanted to play. I played the standards, learned how to read, which has helped me out with some of the charts. In the past, I've done a lot of different shows with a lot of 60s and 50s artists, and they give me chord charts and lead charts and stuff, and that's really helped out there. I think the last one I did was the Vogues or something like that, and they'll usually just send you a CD or something like that, and then chord charts, and then there will be a part where the guitar lead is in there, and usually I don't read notes for that. I just copy the lead off the original,
Right.
off the recording. That's always been a fun part, playing with those bands that you heard when you were growing up, and all of a sudden, now you're on stage playing with them. It's like really cool. I love that part.
So who are some of those bands besides the Buckinghams and Jay Americans?
Oh gosh, that I played with Johnny Tillotson. Just going off. Lou Christie, the Drifters, the Platters, the Coasters. Gosh, there's so many of them. The Reflections.
Well,
That I had a list. I wrote them all down. There's like over 50 artists that I've done.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
We should have maybe asked you, who haven't you played with?
Lou Christie had some hits there. He had
Lightning Strikes.
Lightning Strike.
Yeah, I've worked with Lou like 4 times, I think.
That's very cool.
Yeah, the Tokens. That's another one. Lion Sleeps Tonight.
So how did you get linked up with these groups?
Okay. Okay. Well, I can start out with how I started out with the Crying Shames. That was my first big leap from just playing with local bands. And so I had my band Zane's Way together. And that was my wife Sandy's idea. And she goes, why don't you put together your own band? And she financed the whole thing. And we actually weren't even married at the time. It's right before she financed all the equipment and stuff. And I told her I can find some guys. I found a couple guys that really did great. I was looking for a keyboard player. I couldn't find a keyboard player. So I started messing around with sequencing. I, bought a keyboard and started sequencing. And that really took off because I didn't realize I could do what I could do, with it. And so we just used a sequencer and then the drummer played along with the click track with that. Anyways, we had that going. My wife kept saying, she was booking us. And she goes, we got to get you closer to Chicago, closer to the Chicago area. She had us booked at the Radisson at the Star Plaza, playing at the Atrium a lot. And then she had us booked at the New Buffalo Yacht Club. Now that was an instrumental part in me getting to where I am, and you never know when that's going to happen because we opened up with a Gary Puckett song, which Gary's a good friend of mine now. We opened up with, I think, Young Girl or something like that. Some lady was freaking out, oh my God, I know Gary, and I know Gary Puckett, you're going to have to meet him. You sound just like him, well, I don't sound just like him, but she thought so. So anyways, so her and her husband, they were photographers, and their last name was Follett. It was Kent and Jules Follett. Kent has passed away. What a lovely man. And Jules has gone on to write a book about drummers, and she's involved with all kinds of stuff now. But at that time, they were photographers, and they knew everybody. They knew all the Chicago bands. And so we got to be friends with them, from after that gig. And one day she called me and she goes, the Crying Shames are looking for a guitar player. I go, really? So I came in and checked them out and talked to them. And Hook was J.C. Hook, was Jim Pilster,
right,
was running the band at that time. He just thought I lived way too far away because I'm here in Granger, Indiana, and I'm like 2 to 2.5 hours away from Chicago. He just thought I was geographically wrong, for the band. He wanted to find somebody in the Chicago area, but he liked what I did, And eventually we start talking. I says, hey, I'm committed,
Convinced him that you were willing to travel, right?
Willing to travel. And that was before GPS too. So that I had to do I had to do the MapQuest stuff. Freaked out about driving into Chicago with the Chicago traffic and stuff, but it's something I had to do. But I learned my way around eventually. And they gave me the job, and I was with them for I think 2002, I joined the Crying Shames. And at that time they had, it was Bob Stroud singing for us, from The Drive.
Right.
Yeah, and Bob did a great job. And it was a really good band at that time. And we were playing all kinds of festivals. There were so many festivals happening. So that was a really good experience for me, climbing the ladder, and playing with a band that had big hits in the 60s. We did a gig in Toledo, Ohio. It was Maumee, Ohio, which was right across the river from Toledo. And it was a bunch of bands. It was the Buckinghams, the Crying Shames. Jimmy Sands was on that night with, Shadows of Night.
Sure.
Question Mark and Mysterians, and the Outsiders with Sonny Geraci. So I'm playing. I'm backing up Jimmy Sands. I'm doing his thing, and then I play the Crying Shames thing. And my wife saw it in the backstage there. off to the side. I walk off. She goes, that Sonny guy, from the Outsiders keeps on asking me questions about you. He says he wants to talk to you. So I thought, oh, okay. So here he comes walking up to me and he goes, hey, he goes, I really like what you do. He goes, I like how you use the stage. He goes, your voice is great. He says, would you ever, if I play in Chicago, would you ever be interested in joining me for some of those shows? I said, of course. I said, I don't live in Chicago, but yeah, I do that,
Right.
So he says, we exchanged telephone numbers and stuff. And then at the end of that night, we all went out to eat somewhere. And I was, Sandy and I were sitting at a table, and we were joined by the lady that sold all of Sonny's merchandise, Ray Antonin. And she goes, well, didn't he tell you, he's looking for a guitar player? I said, no, he didn't say that, that. He didn't say that much, So at the end of the night, we gave her a Zane's Way CD, and she took the CD. I was, calling her, and we were calling each other and talking to each other within the next couple days. She called me after one of the days. She goes, Sonny was just over. She goes, I had your CD blasting, and Sonny walked in. He goes, who is that? He goes, that sounds really good. She goes, that's the guy that you talked to the other night. You better hire him before he goes somewhere.
That's cool.
So Sonny called me and had me come in for an audition. I think I played 1.5 songs, and he goes, you're in,
That's cool.
So yes, I was an outsider, from the Crying Shames to the Outsiders. And then when I was with the Outsiders, Sonny did a lot of compilation shows, and that's where I started working with all these other shows. I think the first one was Kathy Young that did 1,000 Stars in the Sky. So I warmed her up. And the other one was Johnny Tillotson that did Poetry in Motion and Talk Back. Really nice guy. That was the last. I worked with him one other time, and that was the last time. But that was the first one, and then Danny and the Juniors, and then started doing a whole bunch of other ones. And Sonny always had at least another act with him or two, and we ended up usually backing them up. They used Sonny's band, and that's how I ended up doing all that. And actually, at the end, towards 2008, he hooked up with Dennis Stefano. So I was playing a lot of Buckingham stuff, early on then, and met Dennis, and we had a great time. So I as a matter of fact, I think I was on a date with the Vogues, and it was Sonny, and the Outsiders and the Vogues, and I got a call, and it was from Carl Giammarisi from the Buckinghams. They were looking for a guitar player. So that's what that happened, So I was with Sonny between 2005 to 2010. Then I joined the Buckinghams. I've been with them for 10 years now. Wow. So in a nutshell, that's that whole ride there, Yeah, it's a lot of fun, And with the Buckinghams, I never, they never use a Buckingham to back anybody up. So we're our own thing. I don't get a chance to do that. Oh, one more thing. So after I got a message from, it says Sandy Yaguda. I didn't have no idea who that was. He goes, would you be interested in doing some shows with us? And I went on, I Googled it. Sandy Yaguda. And I found out, leader of Jay and Americans. It's like, whoa, I love Jay and Americans, I called him and he says, yeah, we need somebody, to play guitar for the Midwest, because they have a guitar player on the East Coast. They got one on the West Coast. So I'd be their Midwest guy. And I've been doing that. And I think that's been like 5 years or something like that. They're a fun bunch of guys. And we did a cruise a while back, and they were actually on the cruise, and the Buckinghams were on the cruise. So I got twice the pay that week.
Yeah, nice. That's nice.
Yeah. and get to enjoy being on. I love the cruises. We just missed one of those cruises. It came at the time that this COVID thing started. Flower Power cruise. So I got friends with Sly and the Family Stone that were there. Everybody was planning on hanging out and seeing each other again, and it didn't happen. So,
well, hopefully we'll all be back to doing that soon. But
oh, kidding! I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
I'm definitely ready.
So the first time I met you, I worked with you running sound. Is at the Blue Chip with Zane's Way.
Yeah.
And
great time.
So I know you told us a little bit about Zane's Way, but who plays in the band with you now?
It's actually still KJ Hammerstein on bass, and I'll tell you how it started out. Zane's Way, when we started out, it's pretty easy to remember because it was 7/11/97. It all rhymes. Yeah, so we started out in 97. I had a bass player named Roger Kessler playing with me, and I never fronted before. So this guy, he had a like a radio voice, and he was a really good bass player and really good front guy. And I had another drummer named Dave, at a music store in town here. And we played for, I think, 5 years. The drummer ended up getting sick, and I was losing gigs, and I had to find another drummer. And so that's when KJ Hammerstein came in as a drummer. He's multi-talented. He plays a lot of instruments.
I was gonna say that. I know KJ, besides playing bass, he plays drums, plays saxophone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
his main instrument is drums. But now he's playing with another band. He's playing keyboards and saxophone. Our bass player was leaving the band, and it's like, oh no, where am I going to find a bass player? And KJ goes, I can play bass. And it's like, well, what are we going to do for the harmony? We're losing a voice for the harmonies. We're losing a drummer then if you play bass. I'm going to find another drummer. He goes, well, let's just try this the way it is. And so we ended up, since we already had the keyboard sequence, we ended up he played all his drum tracks and sequenced those. And we bought a harmony machine and put that extra harmony in with the keyboard to fill in that one extra harmony. And then Sandy joined us on stage so we still had 3 on stage, but you'd hear drums, but you wouldn't see them. You hear keyboards and wouldn't see them. And we were playing around like that. A lot of people didn't mind that. We were doing some little festivals, and then I got the offer from the Blue Chip. And I think it was Sue Ann Brunty that took care of that. And we were friends because she was with South Bend Parks, where the area where I live, and she used to hire us for a lot of things. And she said, yeah, the Blue Chip wants a drummer, so.
I think the first time you came in, you did it with just the 3 of you without a drummer.
Yeah. Did we?
I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. But then when you came back, your second time, and from there on in, you had a drummer.
Yeah. So that worked. And the drummer we got was Rob Hunter. And he's actually my drummer for the Bigger Picture right now.
Right. Yeah. Rob's been with you for quite some time then.
Yeah. So, anytime Zane's Way plays now, it's the 3 of us, and Sandy my wife, joins us also.
Right.
Yeah. It's myself, KJ Hammerstein, and Rob Hunter, and my wife, Sandy. When we do get something, right now Zane's Way's not booked for anything, for the year. We have some bookings left for the Bigger Picture once things start. We've already lost, I think, 4 with the COVID thing. So I had the Zane's Way thing going for a while, and I was approached by a guy about what was I doing? Oh, I was filling in with another band, and a guy come up and he says, "Would you like to play some gigs with my band?" And I can't remember the name of the band at that time. I think it was Acme Box and Crate or something like that. And I said, sure. And he goes, well, and the sound guy goes, I've got another band. And he goes, man, anytime you can come in and fill in, he says, I'll pay you this. And it was a nice amount of money. It's like, oh, okay. So in my time off, I could make some extra money.
Sure. That sounds good.
And eventually we start managing the band, and then went to make some changes in the band. And the two guys that had that band didn't like the changes, and they quit. And then they told everybody that I stole their band, which I did, is everybody ended up going with me. And well, one thing before they didn't like was we were trying to come up with the name of the band. I came up with a Bigger Picture, and they didn't like that. But so the Bigger Picture lives, and it's grown, and it's been together for, gosh, I don't know, 7 years now.
I'd say
like
this 7, 8 years. I bet. Yeah, easy.
Yeah, and we've gone through a few member changes. You had Steve Hoy on keyboards and Mike DePoyan on guitar, and those guys lived in Kalamazoo, so they were making quite a hike to rehearse. Here in the Indiana area where I live. And
I love both of them too. I love both of them.
Great guys.
Yeah.
Great Christian guys. And they
Mike DePoy was a great guitar is a great guitar player.
Yeah. I think he's doing something with the blues organization out in Kalamazoo. He's head of the board, or he's up there doing stuff. Very nice guy, great player. So first, the keyboard player, his family started growing. So it's like, oh no, So I had to find a keyboard player. So I felt something coming on, because Mike used to travel with Steve all the time. He actually has night blindness too. So they both lived close to the same area in Kalamazoo. So Mike would always drive with Steve. And then Mike's family was growing too, so they both had to leave. They didn't want to, but I had to find a keyboard player and a guitar player. So it's like, oh boy, how am I going to do this? You're kind of in a limited area. Our area here is only so big. I mean, in the Chicago area, you got a bigger choice. More people to pull from. I ended up finding the guy. The drummer goes, I got the keyboard player. I go, really? He came in and just kind of, wow. Yeah, this guy's got it. He's got all the sounds, not really nice guy.
That was Rob Hunter said that he had a keyboard player, right?
Yeah, that was Rob brought him in because they both played in a blues band together called Elwood Splinters.
And who was the keyboard player?
Tom Taylor.
Tom Taylor, right?
His keyboard player now. Yeah. So we got Tom, and then I got the right guitar player if I could find him, and it's a guy named Jim Besmer that I played with years ago, and I finally located him, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm in." He came in and played, and the guys were like, "Wow, this guy's good." It's like I told Rob said, I got the guy, and I told Rob, I says, I got the guy here. So we both got the right guys, So then the other missing link to the puzzle was we were using like 3 different bass players, and we were constantly learning new songs. And it's like every time we learn a new song, you have to practice with that bass player each time, and another one to learn that and another one to learn that. So we were looking for somebody to be with us full time, and Tom's father-in-law says, I work with a guy in Elkhart at a trailer factory that the guy plays bass and sings. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, we'll see. Guy came in and just nailed everything, I mean, his guy's got perfect pitch. His name is Rich Pollard. Really? So we filled in the last piece of the puzzle. We've been going pretty strong ever since till this COVID thing happened, And after it happened, we probably got another set worth of material that I've charted out all the stuff. I learned I take the songs apart. I tell the guys, learn your parts. I take all the harmonies and everything and designate who's going to sing what. And kind of chop the songs apart and figure out how we're going to end it if the song, fades out on the original recording. And so now we're waiting just to get back together to rehearse, to learn, whole new sets worth of material. So that's going to be a lot of fun once it happens.
So now you front the band, and you front the Zane's Way.
Yeah.
But now you said you weren't used to fronting the band.
No.
What did you do? Would you just play guitar early on, or what?
Yeah. And, and I sang everything, but I just play guitar. And when that happened, and that bass player from Zane's Way quit, he was the front man. And it's like, man, what am I going to do? I remember talking to Gary Puckett about it. I go, Gary, what the heck am I going to do? I says, I've never done that before. And Gary goes, there's no right way or wrong way to do it. He says, you just got to figure out your own way, Zane's Way. Anyways, I'm just going to be me, that's the best thing I can do, is just be me and just talk to the people like I'm talking to my friends.
Well, I tell you, you do a great job at fronting the band, and you've got a great voice.
Thanks, Paul.
And you've got a great voice as well. So
thank you so much.
So you fit right in, I'm sure.
Road to Rock Radio is proud to welcome Paul Martin of M&R Rush and the Dancing Noodles and Ray the Roadie, the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. Join Paul and Ray as they bring you weekly interviews from bands that have rocked Chicago. It's the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast, Monday night at 6 on Road to Rock Radio.
So, Dave, what kind of gear do you use?
What gear?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of different guitars. People always ask me if I have a favorite. I like my Strats a lot. I think I have like 5 Strats right now. And most of them, I've got a Japanese one. I've got a bunch of Mexican Strats, I don't even think I have an American Strat. I do have one. I've got a 1966 Strat that's been changed around so many times you wouldn't even recognize it, You
have the Gold Sparkle one.
The Gold Sparkle one I put together, and because I always wanted one that color. Dick Dale had one of those originally. Yeah, I've used that one. I've used that one quite a bit. That was my number one for a long time. And now I go back between that and I have a red Mexi Strat. I've got a couple Les Pauls. I've got 2 white Les Pauls. One's an Epiphone. One's a Gibson that was left to me by a friend of mine that passed away. I've got a Paul Reed Smith McCarty that was left to me by a friend that passed away. That's beautiful.
I just saw you playing that recently on one of your videos.
Yeah, that's what I've been using because it's got a piezo pickup in it that, makes it sound like an acoustic, and it really sounds great and it looks great, plays great. So I've been using that one quite a bit. I won't travel, I won't fly with those expensive guitars. I'll usually take a Mexican Strat with me. Usually when I go, or the Epi Les Paul or something like that. They still sound great, but they wouldn't cost as much to replace, I just don't take my chances. I don't know if you've flown very much with and I take a gig bag and put it up in the overhead always. And I got to watch because every once in a while, there'll be people getting on and they'll have a big bag and just take it and want to just shove it in on your guitar. And it's like, no. I've had to yell at people before, that's my guitar, please, and, oh, I'm sorry, that's how it is. That's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing about, not the hardest thing. That a lot of people say that do this music for a living. It's like we get paid, for traveling, not playing, because all the time it takes, the setup and to get there, and it's a lot of time for just being up on stage for an hour or so, you know.
So besides guitar, what? I mean, I know you play some mandolin, correct?
Yeah, I just picked up. I'm basically a quarter, you know. I play a little bit. I just, you know, pick out the songs and learn the chords and play them. You know, at one time we were doing like 3 mandolin songs, but it just brings different sounds into the band. You know, that's what I like, instead of, you know, just the keyboards being able to get different sounds. I have another guitar that's made by it's called the James Tyler Variax. And Line 6 started out with these guitars, and this guitar models like all different kinds of guitars. It models Gretsch, you know, Gibson, Les Pauls, Strats, Telecasters, Rickenbackers.
I remember you bringing that guitar. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Well, it's cool about it too. I love the sound of electric sitars and stuff. You know, it's got the sitar in it. And I think, I did that. I brought it in with Zane's Way because we were doing like Green Tambourine. And right. I'd use it for something like that, you know. But I love that sound. And it's got that. It's got a banjo on it. And you can change you can put it in your computer and change the tunings. It's pretty remarkable, you know. But, I mean, if you take a regular Strat and put it up to it, it's like, yeah, it's pretty close. But, you know, a regular Strat's going to sound better. What's that saying? Master of none, but...
yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
That's what it is. Jack of all trades, master of none. But the guy from the Doobie Brothers uses one all the time. You know, so we don't have to change. He uses for the banjo sounds and use it for the tuning, so you can do slide stuff. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna start bringing it out. I've been messing around with it a little more lately. A lot of time.
Yeah,
a lot of time to do that. But,
so what kind of amp do you play through?
Okay, well, when I'm out with the Buckinghams for backline, I basically just use a deluxe reverb, you know, just a 112 deluxe reverb. I don't need anything real big, you know, and singing, I don't want anything that's going to, you know, be too loud either, you know. Actually, the deluxe reverb works fine for me. I can hear with our volume on stage isn't that loud. And same thing with Jay and Americans. I'll use either a deluxe reverb or the Hot Rod DeVille, you know, a 212 Hot Rod DeVille. And I pretty much use pedals for, I've got a bunch of Boss pedals, and I was using an OCD pedal for overdrive and to store some stuff. But I just got done buying a new pedal that I haven't used yet, because my pedal board I was leaving in my suitcase that I travel with. And going through security, every time they'd have to grab it off and pull me over to the side and go through, because there was so much metal. You know, you go, so much metal in here. I go, yeah, I know, it's my guitar pedals, you know. And it's like, man, I got to figure out a way so this don't happen, you know. So I'm holding everybody up in the line, you know. So I bought this pedal. It's like a multi-effects unit, but it's analog. There's a couple digital effects on it, like the digital delay and I think the chorus, but the other things are analog. And it's really small. I can actually put it in my guitar case. It's called a Moore Red Truck. If you look at it, it looks like a truck. It wasn't all that expensive, and it sounds great. And I can actually put it right in my guitar case and travel with it. So we'll see how it works live once we start working again. But I've been messing around with it, and it's got great sounds on it. So,
well, I know it's a bigger picture band and stuff. You were running direct,
right?
That was a small stage, so. But. Right.
Well, yeah, with Zane's Way and the bigger picture, I run direct, and right. Everybody runs direct, you know. And then the drums are mic'd, of course.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to set up. Doesn't take that much, that long of a time to set up. The older you get, you want to start lightening things up, making it easier,
Travel light is my motto.
Get the little stuff that sounds big,
Now, do you wear in-ears or no?
I just recently started. I've dabbled within the years doing that. And just within the last year, everybody in the band actually has them now. Rob, our drummer, and Tom, the keyboard player, started using in-ears. And they kept saying how great their mix is. And certain times we have monitor mixes, and it's like, oh, ours wasn't all that great. They were just talking about how great their monitor mix was with in-ears. And so we all have those now. We just started using them. So
yeah, they're nice. It sometimes takes a little getting used to, but
oh yeah,
but they're nice to have.
Yeah, Carl from the Buckinghams keeps on saying he wants to try them, and he's never had the opportunity. So I said, well, once we try them, I'll bring my unit, let you give it a try,
So last week we talked with Carl Giammarisi, and he had some nice words to say about you. How's it been playing with the Buckinghams and being part of a band? I mean, well, obviously you've been part of a lot of bands, but the Buckinghams are a pretty big deal, especially around Chicagoland area. But playing those number one hits like Kind of a Drag and Susan
looks like I'm losing my mind. I'm wasting my time.
Yeah, it's like living the dream, It's like I remember. I think the first gig. Yeah, I was pretty nervous on the first gig, But normally I'm not. People always go, "Don't you get nervous?" And it's like I feel the stage is my home. I just feel. But playing with them, it's wonderful. Carl and Nick have been great. They give me a lot of leeway in the show. They've featured me on We Do This Boy. Just to watch those fans, how much they love the Buckingham's music and stuff. It's a great thing. I don't know how else to explain it,
Yeah. Because I'm sure it's an awesome experience,
Yeah, it is. It is. Just waiting to do more because we've got some coming up that we've got one coming up in July, I believe. And it's another Cornerstones. It's in the Chicago area. It's with the Cornerstones, and Tommy James is on that one too. And I think Herman's Hermits is on it too. Nobody's sure about anything right now until it happens,
You've been with the band 10 years.
Yeah.
When did you play with Tommy Sheckle, or was Tommy gone at that point?
Tommy had left at the same time that I joined.
He
had left for the Raiders. Yeah.
I knew it was right around that time, and I wasn't sure if you were, because I know you had Tommy come in and play a couple of play with you at the Blue Chips at one time.
He did. Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Yeah. Yeah, he learned the show. I mean, we needed somebody. We had like a week to find somebody to I don't know exactly why it happened, but Tommy came in like a pro, and I think Bruce came in from Chicago, Bruce Overoff, the Buckingham's keyboard player, to watch the show. It was fun, and now the Bigger Picture plays in Chicago every once in a while at the Hollywood Casino in Aurora. I think we play the one in Joliet also. And so it gives a chance for the Chicago fans, Buckingham's fans, to come and see my thing too. It's really neat.
I see you in a little bit different light, right?
Yeah. So that's a cool thing.
So where can we find Dave Zane on social media?
Well, I have a Facebook page. Friend me on Facebook. I'm wearing like my famous purple jacket. And then I have another site that's called Friends of Dave Zane that you can join. And between those two, that's what I've been doing most of my stuff with.
Do you have a website or no? Or a website for the Bigger Picture Band?
No, I used to have a Zane's Way website, but it ran out and we haven't redone it. So, so no website at the moment. I've got some original material that I'm going to put out there that I'd never have before. I've just been sitting on the stuff. And so I'll put all that stuff on Facebook, and then I'll eventually have them for sale on CD Baby or iTunes.
I'd love to hear some of your original stuff. What genre would you say it is, or what?
It's poppy. I'd say like something like Cheap Trickish a little bit, poppy, like that. I've got a few ballads. I got some happy stuff. So once it happens, I'll have to get a hold of you and let you know what exactly going on with all of that. But
well, we thank you, Dave. Thanks for joining us today and being. Well,
thanks for having me. Thanks. I'm honored.
Oh no! Believe me, it's our pleasure to have you. So
definitely. Hopefully, we'll see you guys out playing somewhere really soon.
Yeah.
Well, please come out. I'd like to meet you in person here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, there's not another wave of this stuff that comes through. But thank you very much once again, Dave.
All right. Thanks again, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Dave Zane, guitarist for Zane's Way and Bigger Picture Band, the Buckinghams, Jay and Americans, and he's played with several other people, hasn't he?
Oh, sorry, a cicada just landed in my mouth.
Oh yeah.
No, that was.
The chocolate covered ones are good.
The chocolate, and they're great on the grill.
Yeah,
they are great on the grill.
Yes, they are.
But getting back to Dave, he's a busy boy, man. He's it's crazy. If it wasn't for this pandemic, he'd be somewhere nearly every night.
Yes, indeed. I've known Dave for probably 12 or 13 years now, and it was good to talk to him and get some insight into the bigger picture of Dave Zane.
Ooh, very nicely played. So,
right.
It was a great tie-in with the Buckinghams too. Tune in next week. Maybe we'll bring you another surprise tie-in, or maybe not. You just never know.
You never know.
Check us out on. Yeah, you never know what we're going to do, but don't forget to check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok,
Twitter,
on Twitter. We're everywhere. Follow us. Please follow us.
Tell your friends. Tell your family.
Tell your family. Tell your teachers. Tell your boss. Tell the bum on the street that's panhandling.
Yeah,
if they have a cell phone, they can listen to a podcast.
All right. Well, good talking with everyone today, and thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next week. Take care.
Thank you. The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast does not own the rights to any of the music that's played on this podcast.
The music is used to promote the band or musicians that are interviewed.